Good morning. Today I am going to take a class on cardiomyopathies. So, cardiomyopathy is taught under these headings, that is, definition of cardiomyopathy, classification, pathophysiology, clinical feature, investigation, and treatment of cardiomyopathy. So, by definition, cardiomyopathy is a disease of heart muscles of unknown etiology or unknown cause. So otherwise, cardiomyopathy are group of disease that primarily affect the heart muscle and are not result of congenital acquired valvular hypertensive coronary artery disease or pericardial diseases. Most recent definition of cardiomyopathy is defined as is a heterogeneous group of disease of the myocardium associated with mechanical and or electrical dysfunction that usually exhibit inappropriate ventricular hypertrophy or dilatation and are due to the variety of causes that frequently are genetic. So coming to the classification of cardiomyopathy, fundamental forms of and morphological types. There is a two fundamental forms, that is primary and secondary cardiomyopathy. Primary cardiomyopathy is a unknown etiology, whereas secondaries there is a known cause is present like amyloidosis or chronic alcoholism. So morphological types are dilated cardiomyopathy, restrictive cardiomyopathy, and hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So this is the picture showing a three different types of cardiomyopathy. So first one is hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, where there is a wall is thickened or increased. As a result of that, ventricle chambers are decreasing size that result in systolic dysfunction. Dilated cardiomyopathies, here is wall are thinned, that is wall thickness is decreased that result in the ventricular chambers are dilated or usually dilated that again result in the systolic dysfunction. Last is restrictive cardiomyopathy. Here is wall thickness will be either normal or increase, and there is a diastolic dysfunction, that is failure to relax the ventricles. So coming to the dilated cardiomyopathy, is the most common form of cardiomyopathy, accounts 60% of all cardiomyopathy, generally occurred in adult between the age group of 20 to 60 years, more common in males compared to the females. If you take the prevalences of this DCM is 36 in a very 1 lakh population. This DCM is the third most common cause of heart failure and most frequent cause of heart transplantation also. So complete recovery is very rare. If you take the prognosis, 50% of patients will die within 2 years, about 25% survive up to 5 years. If you take the pathophysiology of dilated cardiomyopathy, here is heart muscles begins to dilate or stretch and they become thinner and thinner. That result in the increased ventricular chamber size. Over the time, that heart become weak and result in the heart failure or congestive cardiac failure. So this picture showing a normal heart and with a dilated cardiomyopathy. In a normal heart chambers are relaxed and filling occurs, then contraction pump the blood. Whereas in dilated cardiomyopathy, muscle fibers are stretched and ventricle wall become very thin and chamber is enlarged. So that result in the failure to contract and pump leads to the systolic dysfunction or systolic failure leads to the heart failure. So come to the causes of dilated cardiopathy. These are various causes. First is genetic causes. 20 to 50% of patients will have a familial, usually autosomal dominant, that is predominant pattern. There is a mutation in the genes encoding dystrophin, sacroglycan, troponin T, and beta MSC, that is major histocompatibility complex. So more than 50% of patients will have a idiopathic cause where exact etiology for cardiopathy is not known. Certain toxic substance also leads to the dilated cardiopathy, that includes alcohol, catecholamines like amphetamine, cocaine, chemotherapeutic agent like anthracycline, that is doxorubicin, daunorubicin, interferons, heavy metal like lead and mercury, occupational exposure like hydrocarbon and arsenics, and following radiotherapy. Some inflammatory myocarditis also causes a dilated cardiopathy that constitute about 9% of all DCM. This includes infective and non-infective causes. So infective causes like various virus, parasitic infection, bacterial infection, spirochetes, rickettsial, and fungal infection. In the non-infective groups, granulomatous inflammatory disease like sarcoidosis, eosinophilic myocarditis, polymyositis and dermatomyositis, collagen vascular disease, peripartum cardiopathy, and transplant rejection. Some metabolic causes includes nutritional deficiency like thiamine, selenium, and carnitine. So electrolyte deficiency like calcium, phosphate, and magnesium. So endocrine causes like thyroid diseases, pheochromocytoma, and diabetes mellitus, obesity, hemochromatosis. Some miscellaneous causes like amyloidosis, tachycardia related cardiopathy, and left bundle branch block. So more common type of dilated cardiomyopathy includes ischemic cardiomyopathy, usually following the result of coronary artery disease or myocardial infarction, leave the scar in the heart muscle that result in dilated cardiomyopathy. Ischemic cardiomyopathy, where exact cause or etiology is not known. So hypertensive cardiomyopathy is seen in those people will have a long standing hypertension, particularly not taking a treatment for longer duration. Infectious cardiomyopathy includes following HIV infection and certain viral myocarditis. Alcoholic cardiopathies usually begins in 10 years after the sustained heavy alcohol consumption. Toxic cardiopathy, those were consuming a cocaine, amphetamine, or some chemotherapy drugs following, that is doxorubicin and daunorubicin. Peripartum cardiopathy, this type of cardiopathy usually seen in females or women during the last trimester of pregnancy or after the childbirth, that is within 6 months following delivery. Following radiotherapy, that is especially cobalt, and diseases like diabetes mellitus and thyroid disease also result in dilated cardiopathy. So coming to the clinical features of DCM, some patients are asymptomatic for many years. These symptoms gradually in onset. Majority of the patients will have a symptoms and signs of heart failure, both right heart failure symptoms as well as left heart failure symptoms. If a patient has presented fatigue or weakness, mainly due to the decreased cardiac output. So pulmonary congestion, that is left heart failure symptoms are dyspnea, either due to rest dyspnea or exertional dyspnea, orthopnea, paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea, S3 gallop, and bilateral basal cryptation. So systemic congestion like right heart failure, that is patient will have a swelling of both lower limb, nausea, abdominal pain, nocturia. On examination, there is a increased JUP, ascites, and hepatomegaly. So there is a patient will have a tachycardia, tachypnea. There is a narrow pulse pressure, low cardiac output, and hypotension. On examination, there is a S1 is soft and pansystolic murmur of mitral regurgitation and tricuspid regurgitation is heard. So arrhythmias, usually atrial fibrillation is seen, conduction delay, syncope that leads to the sudden cardiac death. In a patient with DCM, will have also thromboembolism is seen. So come to the investigation. So routine investigation includes complete blood count, ESR, urine routine, RBS, renal function test, electrolytes, liver function test, serum albumin, calcium, magnesium, thyroid profile, lipid profile, cardiac enzymes like CKMB, troponin, serum iron, transferrin saturation. So specific investigation include ECG, that is electrocardiography, usually non-specific findings you can see, that is isolated TI changes, septal QS, prolonged AV conduction, bundle branch block, and atrial or ventricular arrhythmia. So echocardiography is mainstay of diagnosis. Usually you can see the chamber size and there is a dilated left ventricle and other chamber, and also you can assess the ejection fraction, that is a globally diminished systolic function you can see. And also you can identify the mural thrombi, quantify the mitral and tricuspid regurgitation, assess the severity of pulmonary hypertension, and also you can exclude the secondary causes like valvular heart disease. Endomyocardial biopsy is done in selected case to mainly to rule out the myocarditis and infiltrative disorder like amyloidosis. Detection of viral antigen in endomyocardial biopsy specimen helps to plan the antiviral therapy. So chest X-ray shows cardiomegaly and there is a pulmonary venous congestion. If you do coronary angiography, usually normal coronaries you can see. And also you can help to distinguish between the whether it is ischemic or idiopathic dilated cardiopathy. This is the chest X-ray in a patient with dilated cardiopathy. There is a huge cardiomegaly is there, and also there is a pulmonary congestion you can see. Come to the treatment of DCM. Our aim of the treatment is manage the symptom, reduce the progression of disease, and prevent the complication. So treatment includes non-pharmacological treatment and pharmacological treatment. In a non-pharmacological treatment, so lifestyle modification, quit smoking and alcohol, weight reduction, low salt diet, restriction of fluid intake, adequate sleep and rest, reducing the stress, and treat the underlying condition like diabetes mellitus and high blood pressure. Come to the pharmacological treatment of DCM. So mainstay of therapies vasodilator includes AC inhibitor, ERB, calcium channel blocker or nitrates along with digoxin and diuretics used. So diuretics includes furosemide, hydrochlorothiazide, aldosterone antagonist like spironolactone, then digoxin. So these are mainly symptomatic treatment, whereas to ventricular remodeling. So AC inhibitors like ramipril they use, beta blocker like carvedilol and metoprolol they will use. For antiarrhythmic, to prevent arrhythmia, amiodarone they use. To prevent the thromboembolism, anticoagulant like warfarin they use. Those who are refractory to pharmacological treatment can go for ICD, that is implantable cardioverter defibrillator. So these usually indicated in a patient with prior ventricular fibrillation or sustained ventricular tachycardia. In this patient, usually this ICD is indicated. So implantation of this ICD improves the survival in patient with left ventricular ejection fraction of less than 30%. Other treatment of this DCM are cardiac resynchronization therapy using a biventricular pacing. These usually indicated in a patient with LBBB, left bundle branch block with wide QRS, and those who have patient with ejection fraction less than 35% and remain symptomatic despite of maximum medical therapy. This cardiac resynchronization therapy using a biventricular pacing improve the survival, functional status and exercise tolerance, and improve the ejection fraction in a patient with DCM. So last option is cardiac transplantation. Those who progress to end stage disease or substantially prolonged survival in a patient with DCM with survival of 78% over 5 years. So coming to the hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So by definition, HCM is a primary genetic cardiac disorder resulting from mutation in gene encoding sarcomic protein, which is characterized by myocardial hypertrophy, abnormal diastolic filling, intermittent ventricular outflow obstruction. Is a most common genetic cardiac disease with prevalence in adult about 0.2%, found in 1 in every 500 of general population. So other name of this HCM, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, are hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy, idiopathic hypertrophic subaortic stenosis, asymmetric septal hypertrophy. This is a picture showing a hypertrophic cardiomyopathy where there is a symmetric or concentric hypertrophy of left ventricle you can see that result in the decrease in the chamber size of left ventricle result in systolic dysfunction and as well as diastolic dysfunction result in the heart failure. These are two important feature of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy are one is asymmetric left ventricular hypertrophy, preferentially hypertrophy of interventricular septum. Second one is dynamic left outflow tract pressure gradient related to narrowing of subaortic area. So mainly due to obstruction of systolic anterior movement of mitral wall against hypertrophied septum. So this is the picture showing a there is a asymmetrical septal hypertrophy. So that result in the decrease in size in the left ventricle. So this is the picture showing a asymmetrical septal hypertrophy with obstruction where there is a systolic anterior motion of mitral wall will be there against the hypertrophied interventricular septum that result in the left ventricle outflow tract obstruction occurs. So coming to the pathophysiology of this HOCM, when there is a left ventricular hypertrophy, that is thick ventricular wall, result in the decrease in the ventricular chamber size, that result in the less blood collected in the left ventricle, that result in reduced cardiac output. Once there is a reduced cardiac output, there is a increased pressure in the ventricles and also lungs. When there is a changes in the cardiac muscle that interferes with the heart electrical signals leads to the arrhythmia, and once there is arrhythmia occur, patient will have a sudden cardiac arrest can occur. When there is a diastolic dysfunction, there is a impaired in the diastolic filling as well as filling pressure also. When there is a impaired diastolic filling, there is a reduced stroke volume. Once there is a reduced stroke volume, there is a reduced cardiac output and there is an increase in the pulmonary venous pressure, and patient will have a experience a exertional dyspnea. So come to the etiology or causes of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy or hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy. There is a inherited cause, spodia cause, and unknown causes. So more than 50% of SCM are positive family history, usually autosomal dominant inheritance pattern caused by mutation of gene encoding sarcomic protein. So there is more than 450 mutation in 13 cardiac, sarcomere and myofilament related genes has been identified in HOCM. Some mutation causing SCM are found in the genes encoding beta MSC, that is major histocompatibility complex, cardiac troponin, alpha tropomyosin, and myosin binding protein C. So there is a role of some environmental factor also in the development of HOCM has been identified. So coming to the clinical feature of HOCM, many patients will have a asymptomatic will be there. Usually on routine checkup they will find out there is a hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. During echocardiography finding only, or patient may be first clinical manifestation will be sudden cardiac death, especially in children and young adult during and or after the physical exertion. So HOCM is a most common cause of sudden cardiac death in a young adults also. If patient has developed symptomatic, usually 90% will have a dyspnea, 75% will have a angina pectoris, they followed by fatigue, free syncope and syncope, and there is a risk of sudden cardiac death. And also patient presented palpitation, dizziness, paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea that leads to congestive heart failure. So some patient they will have a atrial fibrillation that leads to the thromboembolism also. So signs are prominent AVS in JVP. There is a doubles or triple apical impulse. There is a S4 heart sound. Reversed splitting of second heart sound. So hallmark of obstruction is harsh ejection systolic murmur that is heard over left lower sternal border and apex. There is a pansystolic murmur of mitral regurgitation also heard in apex, some patient with obstruction. So coming to the investigation of HOCM, routine investigation you have to do. Specific investigations are ECG, there is a increased QRS voltage, STT changes, axis deviation, left atrial enlargement and left ventricular hypertrophy along with strain pattern. So X-ray showed there is a left atrial enlargement or it may be normal. So ambulatory Holter monitoring mainly to detect the atrial or ventricular arrhythmia mainly helps in risk stratifying patient for sudden cardiac death. So this is the picture of showing a ECG in a patient with HOCM. There is a increased QRS voltage. There is a left ventricular hypertrophy along with strain pattern. There is a deep TA inversion in anterior as well as lateral leads that indicates there is a left ventricular hypertrophy can seen. So 2D echo, you can check the asymmetrical septal hypertrophy. There is a small LV cavity. There is an enlargement of left atrium and systolic anterior motion of anterior mitral leaflet. So Doppler echocardiography assess the diastolic dysfunction. So invasive cardiac catheterization indicated if you are suspected a coronary artery disease or severe mitral valve disease. In this shows there is a LV pressure gradient, there is a decreased ventricular volume, increase left ventricle end diastolic pressure. So come to the treatment of HOCM, that is pharmacological treatment, surgical treatment, non-surgical alternative treatment, ICD, that is implantable cardioverter defibrillator, and cardiac transplant. So come to the pharmacological treatment. So beta blocker and calcium channel blocker are mainstay of therapy. So beta blockers mainly relieve the symptoms in exercise intolerance and dyspnea, also with congestive heart failure by negative inotropic effect, by heart rate reduction, lower myocardial oxygen demand, longer diastolic filling time. So calcium channel blocker includes verapamil is indicated if beta blocker is not tolerated or ineffective. This verapamil improves in diastolic function and ventricular relaxation, causing the improved filling, decrease obstructive features in 50% of the patient. Calcium channel blocker with strong vasodilator effect are contraindicated in a patient with obstructive symptoms. Disperidamide is another drug used to in HOCM patients. It has a negative inotropic and as well as vasoconstrict effect. So most effective agent in reducing the left ventricular outflow tract obstruction as well as gradient which relieves the symptoms. Those who have ventricular arrhythmia or SVT, you can use antiarrhythmic like amiodarone. Certain drugs should be avoided in HOCM, that is digoxins, diuretics, nitrate, calcium channel blocker, especially amlodipine, vasodilator, and beta adrenergic agonists. Come to the surgical treatment. Usually, this surgical treatment is indicated in a patient with subaortic gradient more than or equal to 50 millimeter of mercury, frequently associated with congestive heart failure, and those who are refractory to the medication. The surgery that commonly doing are septal myectomy plus partial myectomy through transaortic approach to relieve the obstruction, reduce the left ventricular outflow tract gradient, SAM, and mitral regurgitation. Complication are complete heart block or septal perforation. Some mortality will be 1 to 3%. So this is a picture showing a surgical septal myotomy. So remove the hypertrophied intraventricular septum so that relieve the obstruction in the subaortic area. Non-surgical alternative treatment for HOCM are septal ablation with ethanol. So 2 to 5 ml of ethanol is administered through an angioplasty balloon catheter lumen to the first major septal perforate of left anterior descending artery. So once you injected, they reduce the left ventricular outflow tract gradient in 85 to 90% of the patient immediately. Further decrease the gradient and symptoms improvement seen over next 3 to 6 months. But one complication is a permanent heart block occurs about 5 to 10% of the patient. So this is the picture you're showing a injection of ethanol to the first septal perforator artery of LAD that lead to the infarction of hypertrophied septum that relieves the left outflow tract obstruction. This picture of coronary angiography showing a perforator artery before alcohol injection. So whatever seeing the white arrows. So next picture showing a after ethanol injection where there is a complete occlusion of that perforator artery. Other treatment of this HOCM are dual chamber or AV sequential facing. So exact mechanism is unknown, but probably think that excitation of septum of left ventricle contracts it away from the opposing wall, which may reduce the LEOT gradient. Now, this facing is rarely recommended since symptoms actually worsen despite of gradient reduction. So, implantable cardioverter defibrillator. So, HOCM is most common cause of sudden cardiac death, otherwise healthy young individual. So, ventricular tachycardia or ventricular fibrillation as primary responsible for this sudden cardiac death. So, you have to identify the high risk patient and you have to implant the implantable cardioverter defibrillator will prevent the sudden cardiac death in a HOCM patient. So, high risk individuals are patient less than 30 years at the time of diagnosis, prior cardiac arrest, symptomatic ventricular tachycardia and Holter monitoring. There is a family history of sudden cardiac death or syncope. In this individual, you have to advise or implant the implantable cardioverter defibrillator. So coming to the restrictive cardiomyopathy is a less common form of cardiomyopathy compared to the DCM and HOCM, most commonly affected in older adults. In this condition, ventricles become stiff and rigid due to replacement of normal heart muscle with abnormal tissue such as scar tissue. So hallmark of restrictive cardiomyopathy are abnormal diastolic function. This result in ventricular cannot relax normally and expand to fill the blood, which causes the atria to become enlarged. Eventually, blood flow in the heart is reduced. Complications such as heart failure or arrhythmia can occur. So, what are the causes of this restrictive cardiomyopathy? Are more than 50% of the patient will have a idiopathic form will be there, usually familial with autosomal dominant. Specific form are myocardial and endomyocardial. In myocardial, infiltrative disorder like so amyloidosis is the most common outside tropic. Storage disorder like hemochromatosis and glycogen storage disease. In endomyocardial disease, endomyocardial fibrosis, most common in tropical countries, carcinoid radiation and drug use. Come to the signs and symptoms of restrictive cardiomyopathy. Usually, there is no symptoms during early stage of disease. As the cardiomyopathy progresses, heart weakens. The symptoms and signs of more of right heart failure than the left heart failure usually appears. So, symptoms of right heart failure are the swelling of limbs, ankles, abdomen, and there is abdominal discomfort. On examination, there is a raised JEP and hepatomegaly is seen. So, left heart failure symptoms of exertion dyspnea, PND, orthopnea, and you can patient will have a thromboembolic complication and conduction block can seen in amyloidosis and sarcoidosis patient. So atrial fibrillation is seen in idiopathic forms. Signs are tachycardia, raised JP, rapid X and Y descent. Kussmaul sign you can see increased JP during inspiration. There is edema and hepatomegaly. There is a third heart sound and fourth heart sound. There is a pansystolic murmur of MR and TR. Bilateral basal creptation. Pulsus paradoxus is infrequent. So investigations are routine investigation you have to do. Specific investigation are ECG, that is bundle branch you can see, low voltage, QR and QRS complex seen in ECG. Chest X-ray usually normal sized heart. There is a pulmonary congestion you can see. 2D echo Doppler helps in check the size of the ventricle, usually normal. There is a bilateral enlargement you can see, AV wall regurgitation, and thickness of ventricles also you can identify. Doppler echocardiography of reveals characteristic restrictive pattern of mitral inflow velocity you can see. Cardiac catheterization characteristic dip and plateau configuration in ventricle pressure tracing you can see. Endomyocardial biopsy, those are specific cause of restrictive cardiopathy like amyloidosis, sarcoidosis, or storage disorder. In that situation, this biopsy helpful. CT chest for pericardial thickness and calcification, mainly to differentiate the from constrictive pericarditis. This CT chest is useful. So, come to the treatment of restrictive cardiopathy. For idiopathic causes, diuretics to reduce the congestion. To control the heart rate, use beta blocker, amiodarone, calcium channel blocker. Those who have atrial fibrillation give long-term anticoagulation like with help of warfarin. To enhance the myocardial relaxation, calcium channel blocker and ACE inhibitor. Those who have AV blocks can use dual chamber facing. Those who have high risk patient, there is a history of sudden cardiac death, so you can use ICD. Those who are refractory to heart failure can go for heart transplantation. So specific forms, those of amyloidosis, meflon, prednisolone, heart lung transplant. Those with hemochromatosis, you can use phlebotomy, desferoxamine. For carcinoid syndrome, stomatostatin analog, valvuloplasty or valve replacement. Those with sarcoidosis, you can use steroids, pacing, ICD, transplantation. Endomyocardial fibrosis with eosinophilic cardiomyopathy can treat with endocardiectomy with tricuspid valve or mitral valve replacement. So these are the questions you have to answer and mail within 3 days to the departmental email. Thanking you.